The United Arab Emirates passport is sometimes categorized as the best passport in the world, with the most mobility out of every single passport out there. Is that the truth? And should you strive to get a UAE passport yourself? Let's find out. Now, just to analyze the visa-free travel of the UAE passport here, we have the map of the world. Everything in green or in yellow or in blue is accessible with the UAE passports. The one in blue is the one that you can live in, freedom of movement, just like in the EU, and everything else is visa-free or visa on arrival. Two big countries stand out in gray, and those are the United States and Australia. But pretty much every other country around the world that you would want to go to, maybe not Papua New Guinea, but pretty much everything else is in green. So you can go without a visa. Obviously the Schengen area, you got the UK, all of Latin America, Mexico, Canada, Russia, everywhere around the world that you would possibly want to go to, you can do that without a visa. And some passport rankings like passportindex.org put the UAE passport as the top passport in the world. So is it the best passport if those two giant countries stick out like a sore thumb? Another passport index by Henley and Partners puts it way down in the 15th ranking in the world. With 176 countries, at the top is Japan, Singapore, and many European countries. This is more accurate of a ranking. The UAE doesn't have access to the United States, mainly because US citizens, when they go to the UAE, they only get 30 days visa. And one of the requirements to get a visa waiver to the United States is that US citizens get 90 days. A lot of countries in Europe have 90 days in the UAE, but not the United States. So until they fix that, which might be very soon, they won't get access to the US, as well as Australia, which, as you know, is very crazy. Only a few countries around the world have visa-free to Australia. Some countries that have visa-free, like Romania, they even need to sometimes get visas. Sometimes they even get rejected for visa waiver to Australia. So Australia is a quite tough country in order to get a visa. So that they need to work towards. Now, it's also important to compare not just the visa-free travel, but also the ability to live in a tax-free country as a wealthy individual. Because obviously, as a UAE citizen, you can live permanently in a tax-free country. You can run a business locally. You don't need any local contacts. You can do everything yourself. Run a business, open a bank account way easier as a UAE citizen compared to a UAE resident, as well as have access to the entire UAE market without any restrictions. It's a market that is growing, is attracting a lot of wealth from all over the world. That's obviously a big plus. But if you compare it to other passports, for example, in the European Union, that have access to live in 25 plus countries, that also needs to be taken into consideration. You can't say that the UAE passport is better because it has visa-free access to all the other countries when European passports have the access to live in 25 plus countries. And other passports like Japan or Singapore have access to pretty much the entire world, including the United States, Australia, pretty much anywhere else that you want to go to, and it's an easier passport to get than the UAE. Singapore is getting way tougher to even get permanent residence. In Singapore, it's a hassle. There's a quota. A lot of people get rejected. To get Japanese citizenship, you need to give up all your other passports, just like Singaporean, and you need to live in Japan, speak Japanese, integrate yourself into the culture for a decade or more. But the UAE is still not a reality for the average investors. So those two are possible to get, but UAE is just a dream at this point. At some point, the UAE will open the law so that investors that are bringing a lot of value into the country, a lot of money, a lot of jobs, a lot of crypto projects, because the Sheikh, the Crown Prince, they all love cryptocurrency. They want to make Dubai the home of crypto. And this is going to continue in the future. They're heading in the right direction. So is it a passport that you should strive for? Is it a passport that is going to improve your life? In my view, definitely. You should strive towards the UAE passport. And it's going to be a passport that you and I could get at some point. But I wouldn't call it the best passport in the world, because you can only really live in the GCC, which most countries in the GCC, they're not as good as the UAE. Saudi Arabia is improving. Qatar is quite good. Bahrain as well, but the UAE is the top out of all of them. You can't really go and live in the European Union as you can with many other European passports, like the Portugal Golden Visa. You could get it and then go live somewhere else in the EU. Of course, you'll be subject to their bureaucracy, to the crazy taxes and regulations that the EU has. If you want to get away from that, then UAE could be a great choice, but it still doesn't have the visa-free access that we need of US and Australia to become the top passport in the world. If you want to get yourself a second passport, there's 10 countries around the world that sell their passports and their citizenships, and you can get one in as little as 6 months. Watch the video right here, 10 countries that sell their passports to foreigners. You can get yours right now.